Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here for the Sunday night live stream show. Hopefully you're ready for a good time and a great show. I appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us tonight. Definitely looking forward to a good time talking fishing, answering your questions, giving away free fishing trips. That's right, every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. we do this live stream show where we give you an opportunity to win $1,500 in free trips. That's right. $1,500 in free trips, a 5-hour half day for 2 guests, a 10-hour all day for 2 guests, and a 39-hour trip for 1 lucky winner. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We also show you photos of what we've been catching. We talk about what's coming up, do some announcements, answer your questions live during the show, and talk about the weather as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Remember, if you have a question you want answered live during the show, shoot us a text message to the phone number on the screen. If you want a chance to win some of those $1,500 in free fishing trips, here's how you enter, here's how you claim it, and here's how you win. So first things first, you have to watch the entire show live. So you have to stay tuned and actively watch the show. You also have to comment 1 time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. That's how you enter for a chance to win. 1 comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. You can watch on Instagram, you can watch on TikTok, you can watch on YouTube, you can watch on Trovo, Twitch, or any Facebook page we're streaming to, but you have to comment 1 time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be entered for a chance to win. Then you have to sit back, relax, and watch the entire show live, because if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address and claim your free trip. So watch the entire show live, comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream, and then if you're picked as one of the lucky winners, you'll see your name on the screen. I'll announce your name, and then you've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address. That's how the trips are given away. That's how you enter to win. That's how you claim it. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by Gator Jim's Tackle, you are missing out. I was there this past week hanging out with the guys, and man, that tackle shop is always so impressive. An incredible selection, killer deals, so much going on, and great people working there behind the counter to help you out and get you dialed in. So stop by Gator Jim's Tackle and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. And a big shout out and thank you to Gator Jim's Tackle for making the live show possible as our title sponsor and presenting sponsor as well. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to all those who are sending stars to help fuel the show as well. Really appreciate all the star senders who help us do what we do Sunday nights. We had Larry White with a big 500 stars, Mick Higgins, Sean Gossier, Angie Darling with a big 1,000 stars, Stephen Batchelor with a big 500, thanks buddy, Leonard Coots, Sam Lang with a big 830, Charles Carter with a big 800, appreciate you buddy, David Smith, James McCullum with 500, thanks James, LaShonda, we had Jason Richmond, Gare Bear with 500, appreciate you dude, Gary Camage, and then Eric Seaberg with a big 1,000 stars rounding out the list. Thank you, Eric. Hopefully everybody's excited for a good time tonight and definitely appreciate all those stars who help make this possible. Also, of course, want to give a special shout out to all of those supporters out there who are watching on YouTube and who are watching on Facebook. Remember, if you join our supporters club on Facebook, you get access to our private supporters group. You get behind the scenes info, some more connectivity and communication. And then you could also join on YouTube as well. You don't get access to the group on YouTube, but on YouTube or Facebook, if you join the supporters group, you get access to the private after show that happens every week after the main show. Lance Hall, appreciate you, buddy, with those big 3,000 stars. You're the man. Hope you and the family are doing well. All right, so with that, we want to make sure we also get right into these photos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, definitely don't forget to subscribe. It really helps us to reach more people. If you're watching on Facebook, don't forget to like or follow the page, and then also like the video. If you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you interact with the video. Comment, like, share. We appreciate it thoroughly. With that, let's get right into these photos and show you guys photos of what we've been catching. Adam Franklin, appreciate those stars, buddy. All right, so photos of what we're catching inshore right now. We'll start inshore, then we'll work our way near shore and offshore. Inshore lately, the redfish bite has been going pretty well for us. Our buddy Dan the Fish Man holding up a nice fat redfish or two here from the upper bay waters, kind of north Bogosiega Bay, doing pretty well around the mangroves and the grass flats, the oyster bars. A lot of redfish moving around right now. It's been a real good, solid redfish bite as of late throughout the entire Tampa Bay area. Still some sheep's head going on too. We were out of shrimp the last couple days. They're having problems catching those live shrimp. We had a guest come in the office and bought some frozen sand fleas, and he caught like half a dozen sheep's head on those sand fleas out in the surf, which is pretty cool. So sheep's head fishing going well. We're also seeing some nice snook action out there on the beaches. Snook fishing is definitely thick on the beach during the day. Early morning is a good time to get out there and go beach combing for those snook. We're also seeing them pretty active at night around dock lights and bridge lights, especially this week. We've got that new moon coming up there. The new moon is going to be Wednesday, and that really concentrates those snook, trout, and redfish around the dock lights and bridge lights. Our friend Amy here with a stud trout out on the beach. Our buddy Scott fly fishing on the beach for some nice big old trout. Definitely pretty cool to see. The trout are doing well. Deeper structure is one you want to look for lately if you're fishing up in the bay. Deeper areas like docks where there's some good water flow and some structure, you're going to find those fish. Shaded areas. So those fish inshore are looking for some reprieve from the heat. So deeper areas, structure, shade are all things that are going to add up to concentrated fish action. And then also out there on the beaches, in the surf, out on the beach, it's a little cooler than the back bay waters. So we're seeing a lot of trout, some sheep's head, definitely some snook, a few flounder, a couple pompano out there on the beaches. Let's work our way near shore and offshore and show you photos of what we're catching out there a little deeper. Mahi have been pretty darn thick lately. We're seeing some nice mahi, a couple fat red grouper near shore too. Look at this stud of a mahi. I don't know about the guy, but it's a nice stud mahi by our buddy Jose here. That is a gaffable mahi from the 10-hour trip, which is pretty cool. Some keeper red grouper on the 10-hour. The long-range trips are crushing the fish out there in red snapper land. Doing real well on some catch and release gag grouper, some solid mangrove snapper action. The mutton have been kind of hit and miss. Cooler months we saw a lot of mutton. Warmer months we haven't seen as many mutton, but this last 39-hour trip, the Friday trip that came in Sunday, had 10 keeper mutton on it, which was pretty cool to see. Some big fat red grouper out there, some nice red snapper action, some solid red snapper. 19, 20, 21 pounds have been some of the big red snapper as of late. But as you can see here, plenty of quantity and some nice quality mixed in there on the red snapper front. Look at Jim showing off his big red snapper. Now, Jim was out on this 39-hour trip. He drops down and catches an 18-pound red snapper, reels it up, gaffs it, takes some photos, baits back up, drops back down, and as he dropped down kind of slowly, got a bite on the way down, ended up catching a wahoo. So he catches an 18-pound red snapper. The very next bait down to the bottom catches a wahoo. Pretty awesome to see. There's that wahoo he caught on the second drop. So here's Jim's first fish, baits up, drops back down, catches this fish. Pretty crazy. That is a 39-hour trip to remember for sure. Solid, nice black grouper. This is a true black carbo carburetor, whatever you want to call it. We don't see too many true blacks, but that was cool to see. Huge keeper, or not keeper, but catch and release gag grouper. This one was pushing 40 pounds probably. Didn't get a solid weight on it, but Will estimated it right around 39, 40 pounds. It is a stud of a black, or a gag grouper, not black grouper, but beautiful fish for sure. Some nice red grouper, as I mentioned. Seeing some steady red grouper action, some nice scamps, some blacks, some muttons, some fat red snappers. As you can see, we got lots of good photos to show you this week. The fishing has been going well. Weather is hot, fishing is hot. Things are going well out there in the deep water for sure. Some scamp grouper too, man. The scamp bite was really good on this last 39-hour trip. Dealt with some current because we were fishing a little deeper, but ended up putting together some nice quality fish for sure. So, been pretty good, as you can tell. Definitely seeing a lot of nice quality fish for sure. So hopefully you get a chance to come out and join us this week and take advantage of that good bite. Scott Flynn, appreciate those stars. Nick Nieves with a big 3,000 stars, buddy. Appreciate you, Nick. Noah Smith, Greg DiFilippo with a big 1,000 stars. Appreciate you, Greg, as well. All right, with that, we want to make sure we remind you guys about the weather. Let's talk a little bit about the weather. Go over to hubbardsmarina.com. We're going to click fishing trips, and then we're going to click the weather links page. We're going to start in the 5 and 10 hour wind finder forecast and show you guys what's going on weather-wise. Can you zoom out a little bit, Josh? Yeah, right there is good. We'll let that graph load. As you can see, tomorrow's a little bit more moderate, not crazy, but could potentially get a little bumpy tomorrow, so we're watching tomorrow's weather closely for the Flying Hub 2, but it won't affect any day trips like the half days or anything because it's not super rough. Tuesday it calms down a little bit, looks real nice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, potentially we might get a little bit of higher rain chance, but nothing crazy. So Friday's looking okay. Saturday, Sunday looking pretty good as well, and into next week. So really, really good weather overall. There's definitely more the summertime weather pattern where we're getting these storms coming through. So you have to watch the storms, watch the radar, but overall things looking good. And one interesting thing, jumping over here to spaghettymodels.com, Mike's weather page. One interesting thing that I've been watching closely is we're kind of in this weird pattern, which is great for us as far as tropical formations or tropical chances. We're getting a lot of high pressure sitting over the southeast United States, and these high pressures are keeping these low pressures, these tropical systems, pretty far to our south. We also got a much cooler Caribbean and Gulf basin compared to previous years. So really, as far as the eye can see, you're not really seeing much tropical juice coming up into the Gulf, hanging out. There's a little bit of tropical juice, but it's mostly staying around Mexico, and really mostly the south and west side of Mexico. Not really much happening all the way through July 8th. Not really seeing anything cooking, which is really positive news. We've had a really great run of some blessed conditions with that high pressure hanging out in the southeast, pushing those low pressures away from us and keeping things in the clear. So hopefully that trend will continue, and hopefully we'll continue to be blessed with little to no tropical formation. But as you well know, in our area, late season is typically kind of more of a concern. Generally, we'll get a little light stuff there end of May, early June, kind of mid-June. Sometimes July, but pretty rarely. Normally end of June, July, and into August, it's pretty quiet. For our area, September, October, November, that's really where we get a little concerned. Remember, I always like to show this too. A lot of people start talking in July. They're like, oh, this hurricane season is a bust. Maybe nothing's going to happen. Popping back over here to Mike's weather page, this is one thing I always like to keep in mind because we got to remember Atlantic hurricane tropical storm activity. Can you zoom in a little bit on this, Josh? Make it bigger. You can see peak season, September, October. So September 1st through October 15th is kind of peak. Really, August 15th through October 15th is kind of peak season with the most named storms, whether it's tropical storms or hurricanes, in our area in the Atlantic Basin. So that is historically accurate and generally true. So most of the time we'll stay pretty quiet May, June, July, August. And then around August 15th is when you really got to start paying attention through November. And then we start to get in the clear again once those cold fronts start rolling. So got a long way is what I'm trying to say. Stay frosty and stay prepared. All right, so with that, let's get into our next piece of the pie, which is some announcements. We have some voting to do, some more voting to do. I know, the voting thing is getting a little old, but we did get nominated for Best in Florida. So if you go to hubbardsmarina.com, right at the top of our website page, you can click here to vote for Hubbard's Marina for the Best of Florida. This voting is open daily. And if you click on that link and scroll down to Hunting and Fishing Services, you'll see Hubbard's Marina. All you do is click on it. You got to enter your email. Your name and email, and then you got to confirm your email. But then once you confirm it the first time, it makes it really easy. One-click voting the rest of time. So just keep that in mind if you guys have some time. Maybe you want to vote daily for us to win Best in Florida Hunting and Fishing location. I think it's Hunting and Fishing Guide Services or something like that. But you'll see it on the page when you click to vote. And remember to vote daily as well. All right, Nick Nieves and Lance Hall both hit us with 1,200 more stars. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Lance. Leonard Coots, appreciate you as well. Scott Flynn, definitely. Nick, again, with 3,000. Wow. Nick's hitting us hard. Appreciate you. What's up? You got a phone call?
Scroll up.
Scroll up. Well, we had more. Noah Smith, appreciate you as well. All right, so with that, we talked about the voting reminder, seasons reminder, gag grouper, not finalized yet, but probably going to be September, or definitely going to open September 1st, and probably going to be about 14 to 20 days. Should be finalized this week. I'm surprised it hasn't been finalized already, but hopefully will be finalized this week. Again, somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 20 days is what we were told on the gag grouper front. Probably 14, if I know. If I know what's going to happen there, I would bet that it's probably 14. But they told us between 14 and 20 days. Amberjack season, supposed to be September and October, but there's a good chance it will not open at all. We'll know more probably in a month or two. I would say probably at our August Golf Council meeting, which is the last week of August, we'll have definite information just in time for September 1st. But I would say probably not going to see an amberjack season because they claim we were 250% over on the quota last year, which is unbelievable and ridiculous. But that's our amberjack update, gag grouper update. Red snapper, remember, is June 1st through end of day September 15th. Triggerfish are open all year except for January, February, June, and July. So triggerfish are closed right now. And then red grouper should be open all year. So now there's just 4 fish with seasons this year. Triggerfish, gags, amberjack, and red snapper. We just went over those for you guys. We did get an update on gags. There is a Golf Council meeting coming up in November, and I'm pretty positive that the SSC, the Science and Statistical Committee, is going to have a interim analysis from the Southeast Fisheries Science Center to review before that November council meeting. So there's a decent chance that the Refish AP, which I have the honor of being the chair of that AP, will get a first-hand look at that prior to that November council meeting, sometime late October, early November. And we'll have a chance to see it, which I'm hoping, praying, pretty positive that it's going to show more gag grouper, and potentially the council could use that to increase the quota even more in 2026. Not going to help us this year. Guaranteed gags are going to open September 1st and be somewhere in the neighborhood of 14 to 20 days, probably just 14 days. But for 2026, the quota is going to go up because we're in a rebuilding plan, so every year it's going to go up. Plus, this interim analysis could potentially bump it up even more. So next year, 2026, if there's no overage this year, we should be looking at like 35, 40 days already for next year. If this interim analysis comes out in November and it's really positive, like I think it should be, then we could see even more growth to that 2026 gag grouper season. Maybe 50 days, 60 days, maybe 3 months, who knows? Again, we'll know more kind of mid to late November, and I'll have an idea end of October, early November. So potentially very positive news there on gag grouper. Event reminder, remember we've got OCC Roadhouse this Tuesday. This Tuesday, 7 p.m., I'm going to be hanging out with Capt Mike Anderson over there at Orange County Choppers. That's on 49th Street, just south of Ulmerton. OCC's got great drinks, great food, and me and Capt Mike Anderson will both be there in person. We're going to be giving away Bull Bay rods, Engel coolers, and Hubbard's Marina and Real Animals swag. So super appropriate. Mike also called in at that exact time. What's up, dude?
What's up with you, buddy?
Not much. Just talking about how much fun we're going to have Tuesday night.
Always a good time, man. I love that place, and
Great
I love
food.
the peeps that show up. Yeah, we have a good time, good food, good drinks, and great, accommodations. Great place to do a fishing conversation. So,
Amen.
Plenty of room for a lot of people and good parking. So, should be good. The legend Mike Mahoney is said to be coming, so that will add some flavor to the evening, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. He'll be there to heckle us. That's for sure.
Well, we'll put him on the spot, make him answer some questions.
Yeah, he's got to carry the mic around some.
Yeah, for sure. We got to put him on the spot, though. 100%.
I like it. It's going to be fun.
100%. Yeah, always is. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to fishing this week. New moon. That incoming tide should be really, really good, especially in the morning. So,
yeah, man.
Can't wait. Yeah.
New moon incoming, and that incoming tide is like right around sunrise right now, too. So it should be pretty stellar this week.
I would certainly think it's going to be, the best week of fishing this month, if I had to guess. I mean, the tarpon hill tides can be hot and cold, just depends on what mood they're in. But the snook bite's been good. The redfish bite's been good. There's still a lot of speckled trout around. Snapper bites picking up in the bay. So things are happening. A few flounder around. There's a lot of good things to be excited about. I've seen some triple tail caught. So we got a lot to be excited about, especially this week. I love this tide.
Yeah, man. It's an exciting week just from the aspect that we also have a little bit of cooler weather. That rain pattern has settled in. So while you're dodging storms at the same time, you're getting a lot of fresh water influx to the bay. So it's flushing things around, making the bait move. It's really kind of making everything a little bit more happy, it seems like.
Yeah, it's really key to what we do this time of year. You need some of that. You need a little bit of that rain to just kind of get things, right. It just keeps that water temp where it needs to be, and I think it keeps us from getting a little too salty.
Yeah.
So, all those things come together to make for pretty good fishing. So,
yeah, man.
All the pieces kind of fell into place here for the end of June to be good. And hopefully it'll rock right through the holiday, and the 4th of July will be good. And, so I'm excited, ready to go to work.
Yeah, man. And also, even for shore-based, land-based fishermen, that new moon makes those fish so concentrated at night around artificial light sources. So even those bridge fishermen, everybody can get involved and really have some good fishing this week.
You bet. You bet. You know, the night dock fishing is excellent.
Yeah,
Like
man.
you said, the bridge fishing. I mean, I can't even imagine the kind of damage the Mad Snooker is going to do this week. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Hey, it's kind of odd, isn't it? The number of sheep's head. We had some problems with shrimp this week because it's that time of year. Water's hot. The shrimp fishermen really start to struggle. The shrimp we do get are super small, and sometimes you don't get any order at all because of weather or because of just hot water. So we've been struggling to have good supply of live shrimp in our bait shops, but we have tons of frozen bait. So we had some guys stop by, frustrated we didn't have live shrimp. They ended up getting some frozen sand fleas, and they went out and just absolutely destroyed it with sheep's head, man. And it seems kind of odd to be seeing so many sheep's head, but they're like almost schooled up along the jetty and beaches. I guess that's kind of their summertime haunt is hanging out there on the beach. What's up with that?
It could be. I saw some at the beach last week at the Life too. Actually, in the trough.
Yeah.
I didn't see a pile of them, but I saw a few, and you know, it probably comes from not paying attention to them.
Yeah.
This time of year, you know what I mean? I'm not usually fishing with shrimp or sand fleas. Yeah, everybody's chasing your big, you know, game fish, and you forget that these guys are, you know, still in the estuary doing what they do. So,
yeah.
I mean, they probably appreciate not getting picked on a little bit, but you know, their turn will come. It'll be cold out pretty soon, and we'll be focused on them big sheepies. But you know, that's just another great example of how this estuary is so strong. You know, there's just so many things you can go do. Sometimes you know, you don't have the shrimp, but you got the fleas, and then boom, you're still catching fish because we got plenty of, you know, sheep's head around to keep everybody having a good time and the rod's bent. So that's a pretty cool thing about this incredibly strong estuary we have right here in Tampa, St. Pete. You know, pretty magical.
And also the mangrove snapper fishing, insane lately. They're like
picking up. Yeah. Well, and it's time. The end of June's when things start to really pick up for them. As we move into these July and August, it just gets better and better and better. And if it's anything like what we've seen, you know, near shore and offshore this spring, it should be insane. I'm actually looking forward to it more than I have in the last couple of years, and it's been good. We've had good, but you know, when somebody like Captain Glenn Taylor says it's the year of the mangrove snapper, and then I went out and filmed that show and did and saw what I saw with him and did what I did with him. I can't wait to get after him here on the inshore side. We should catch some really good ones.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting for sure. A good week to get out there to OCC Roadhouse, join us and talk fishing, and then get out in the water and take advantage of this new moon opportunity.
Well, and you know, Mike Mahoney being there, he's a really, really good fisherman.
He is.
You know, so hopefully people will jump on him and pick his brain a little bit. He loves to share that knowledge with the local community. So, you know, he'll be a big bonus to have there to help us out.
And he's entertaining.
He is that. He is that for entertainment purposes only.
Yes, sir. Well, we appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for calling in.
All good. Talk soon, my brother. Thanks, sir. See you Tuesday.
Bye, buddy. See you Tuesday.
See you.
Definitely looking forward to that. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. Mahoney has said he's going to come to a few of these events. So I'm hoping he does show up, but it'll definitely be entertaining. We always have a spirited back and forth between himself and myself, and he always picks on Mike too. So it's pretty entertaining. So let's go ahead and do our first giveaway of the night, and then let's get into some of your questions. So first giveaway of the night tonight, let's go ahead and do our 5-hour half day. 5-hour half day, one lucky winner, 2 guests. Winner is Bob Anderson. Congratulations, Bob, from Tennessee. You've got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address and claim your free trip. Mahoney might be better than all of you at fishing. No, absolutely not. He's better at messing around and flim-flam. I went fishing with the guy. Remember, we did a 12-hour trip on the Flying Hub 2 for his TV show. Mike fished. In that 12-hour trip, we had probably 7 hours, 8 hours of fishing. I think Mike actively fished 30 minutes. He's a good dude. He is a great fisherman. I'm just kidding around, but he is one of those ones that likes to stand back and have a good time, and then he drops that big bait for that big fish. He's opportunistic for sure, and he's good at it. He catches some nice fish for sure. I'm not taking it away from him, but I do like to give him a hard time. Have you ever gotten kingfish from the fishing trips, or is that just for trolling? We get kingfish quite a bit on our fishing trips. We get kingfish trolling on the way out on our 5-hour trips, 39-hour trips, 44-hour trips. Also, sometimes on the 10-hour, we're going fast, slow enough to troll. But most of the time, it's 5-hour, 39, and 44 hours where you have the opportunity to troll every time. We get a lot of kingfish on the 10-hour trips while flatline fishing. On all of the trips, you have a chance to catch kingfish while dropping down or reeling up fish or bait. We see a lot of kingfish on the 39 and 44-hour trips, vertical jigging as well. We see quite a few that way, for sure. Do you carry iced brine on the 39-hour? No, because the bait is frozen, right? We need to update some of our videos. One thing on the 39-hour that we've been doing really the last 2 years is in the spring, in most of the year, not all the time when the water gets cold because it's a little tougher, but when the water's warm enough, we get our own fresh dead bait. So our bait guy, Brian, he'll go out there and he'll net 400 pounds of thread fins, sardines, a lot of different variety of baits, and he'll fill up a big barrel on the back deck of the Florida, and we'll put ice in it, we'll put salt water in it, we'll put bags of salt in it, so we're already brining fresh caught dead bait. So you don't need to brine that bait because it's already brined, but some people will kind of pick through it and then set it up in their own cooler and then brine that. So you can bring brining coolers, but you don't necessarily need ice because it's already a brine barrel, so you just kind of dip your cooler in there and take some of the brine with you. Also, the frozen bait we have is frozen, so you don't need ice because it's already frozen, so you just need salt and a little bit of salt water, and you can create your own brine that way. Does the boat have power available to charge things? No, not really. We have a very limited number of outlets, and most of the time they're used for different things. But if you have a CPAP machine, we definitely work with you to get that plugged in. But if you are like concerned about charging phones or cameras or stuff like that, you really need to bring all that stuff fully charged. Is it possible to catch amberjack and red snapper on the same structure in your part of the Gulf? Yes, we did that this weekend. A lot of times wrecks, big structure, you'll see amberjack and red snapper together. Let's see. Nice red snap or redfish photo. We'll save that for sure. Can you use braided line? You can use braided line if you are using a top shot. You need about 1/3 of your line in the water to be top shot. So if you're fishing a 39-hour, we're fishing around 120 or more foot of water. You need about 30 or 40 foot of monofilament on top of your braid. So you do a line-to-line knot, you add about 30 to 40 foot of monofilament, then you put your lead sinker on there, then you put your swivel 4 foot, 5 foot leader, and then your hooks, 4 foot leader, and then your hooks. If you're on a 10-hour fishing 60, 70, 80 foot of water, maybe 20 foot of line, top shot. If you're on a 12-hour night trip fishing about 100, 110 foot, you want about 25, 30 foot of monofilament top shot. About 1/3 of the line in the water should be top shot generally. Does your 12-hour extreme anchor or drift? We generally are going to be anchor fishing on a 12-hour extreme because it is a smaller boat. It's kind of like a split charter style trip. So we're generally going to be anchor fishing. Now, if the current and the wind are opposing each other, the boat's not really moving, we don't have a really good anchor heading, sometimes we'll drift. And sometimes we even drift on other long-range trips. But most of the time, if it's a 10-hour trip or longer, we're going to be doing mostly anchor fishing. 10 hours sometimes does a little bit more drift fishing, or does some drift fishing. The 5-hour trip almost always drifts if the weather allows. If it's a little too breezy or bumpy, we'll anchor fish on a 5-hour, but primarily 5-hour drifts. 10-hour, we primarily anchor fish, but we still do some drifting. Any 12-hour trip or longer, it's almost always anchor fishing. How is the fishing on the waxing moon? When the moon is getting bigger, remember moon phases is just one of so many variables. So I wouldn't get too caught up in moon phases. There's also water temperature. There's also salinity level, chlorophyll. There's water visibility. Is it overcast? There's so many different variables that go into it. So I wouldn't get too caught up in moon phase. And waxing moon versus waning moon, it's all about the same. It's really those big moon phases that are going to kind of affect the fishing. New moon, full moon. Quarter moons, you just have a little bit lighter currents generally. But even offshore, sometimes that can be altered depending on that loop current. So I wouldn't even hold that too much. So you're talking about mutton snapper slowing down. Was that 10 nice mutton on one trip? Was that in one spot or several in different depths? So what we've noticed is we're seeing more mutton snapper than ever. 100%, that's true. In the last 5 years, we've seen mutton snapper more and more and more and more commonly. We've also noticed in cooler months, October-ish through like March, April-ish, we're seeing more of those mutton snapper in more of the areas we commonly fish, 100 to 200 foot of water. In the summer, warmer months, we're not seeing quite as few mutton, but this last trip, we saw 10 mutton snapper overnight, and that's because I think we were fishing a little deeper. We got out there to 260 foot of water ultimately. So we were fishing much deeper on this last 39-hour trip, which I think is what helped us to find more of those mutton snapper. So maybe in the warmer months, the muttons just push out a little deeper off our coast. I don't know. It's early to say. We haven't had mutton snapper around like this in ever, really. So we're learning the patterns ourselves, but it's definitely a pattern we've noticed. Cooler months, we see more mutton snapper in the areas we fish, 100 to 200 foot of water. In these warmer months, we haven't been seeing very many mutton, but then when we went out there a little deeper, we found them. So maybe that's where they're hiding. I don't know. One time is not enough to say it's a pattern. Don Shuett, appreciate those 1,000 stars, buddy. Lance Hall hitting us hard with 530 stars. Leonard Coots as well. Nick Nieves with more stars as well. I think Lance and Nick are fighting. Appreciate you guys. All right, next question. Why do they have certain seasons for certain species of fish, and why would they just have a season for 14 days instead of 20 days, etc.? So there's seasons because you have to have seasons in order to regulate the recreational fisheries, because recreational fisheries, we don't have a lot of information. We don't know how many people are fishing. We don't know how many trips they're taking. We don't know what they're catching. We don't know what they're discarding. We don't know what their catch per unit of effort is. All 5 of those fisheries dependent tenets of fisheries science are essentially guessed in an educated fashion for the recreational, private recreational fleet in the Gulf. On the charter boat side of things, we have the head boat survey, so they know exactly how many boats are fishing. They know exactly how many trips we're taking. They have an idea of our catch per unit of effort because they do multiple surveys where they call us and we have to tell them how many people we took, how many hours we fished, what's the distance from shore, what was the targeted species, what we caught and kept, what we caught and released. On party boats, we have to mandatorily report every single fish we caught and kept and caught and released. So they have 4 of those informations, and they can then from there generally discern the catch per unit of effort. So of the 5 fisheries dependent things for charter boats and party boats, they have a pretty good idea. The commercial fleet, they know exactly every single one of those 5 things. They know exactly how many boats are out there. They have tracking devices on every single one of them. They have to hail out, hail in. They have to give 3-hour notifications, and they have to sell to a commercially federally permitted dealer who then also double reports their catch. So their catch is twice reported to prevent any sort of discrepancies. Plus, they know exactly how many trips they're taking because of those vessel monitoring systems and because of those hail outs and hail ins. They know exactly what their catch per unit of effort is because they know every ounce of fish they catch. There's also a lot of those boats that are electronically monitored, meaning they have cameras on the boats that the feds can actually monitor. So for the commercial fleet, they have absolutely no questions. That's why the commercial fleet has different management structures, because they have different management tools in their toolbox. That's why they have the ability to do that IFQ system where they're giving a quota and then they're allowed to catch that quota anytime throughout the year. They don't have a season. This person is given this many pounds, this person is getting this many pounds, this person is getting this many pounds, and you have the whole year to catch those pounds, and you decide when you want to catch your pounds. So it's a different management structure because of that crazy regulation they have. On the recreational side of things, they don't know any of those 5 things. So the only way they can manage the fishery is by saying, here's a quota, and in order to stay under that quota, they have to limit fishing mortality by reducing bag limits, increasing size limits, or shortening seasons, or a combination of those 3 things. So there's not a lot of tools in the management toolbox other than setting seasons, setting bag limits, setting size limits. So that's why we're in the place we are for recreational fishermen, and that's why we get these short seasons, along with a lot of the questions of the data. Do we trust the numbers? I don't trust those numbers for amberjack saying we're 250% over last year. I think that's kind of crap. So there's a lot of problems that are still being worked through for sure. Can we find keeper red snapper in 100 foot of water? Yes, you can, but there's not a ton. There's a few here, there's a few there. So we sometimes see red snapper on 10-hour trips, but it's not a lot of them. So if you want to target red snapper, 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, 44-hour trip is really your best bet for those red snapper. You might see one every now and again on a 10-hour. You might see a few on a 12-hour night snapper, but really 12-hour extreme, 39-hour, 44-hour, or a private fishing charter, long-range private fishing charter on the hub, like a 12-hour on the hub, or an 8, 10, or 12-hour on the Flying Hub 2. Excited for my 10-hour trip coming up in July. Do I have a chance to finally catch a keeper grouper? We do see keeper grouper on the 10-hour trip a little bit more commonly. You have a better chance for a keeper red grouper on a 10-hour trip than you would a red snapper, but we're not catching a ton of them, right? We're catching 2, 3, 4, 5 keeper red groupers on a 10-hour trip. We're not catching 15, 20, 25, 30 red groupers. On a 39-hour trip, we're catching 15, 20, 30, 35 red grouper and a couple scamp grouper. On a 12-hour extreme, we're catching 10, 15, 20 red grouper and a couple scamp grouper. So on a 12-hour extreme or 39-hour trip, you've got a real good shot at catching a keeper grouper. On a 10-hour trip, there's a chance, a little bit better chance than that red snapper, but definitely not a ton of those red grouper. And to be honest, if you want to go out and catch a red grouper, I wouldn't suggest a 10-hour. Like I said, you got a chance for them, but we're catching 1, 2, 3, 4, not a ton of them. And we're seeing a lot on the 10-hour, the lane snapper, a few mangrove snapper, a couple of those hogfish every now and again, but really it's mostly the lane snapper, a couple of the mangrove snapper, and a lot of the gray snapper, white grunts, and porgies. The 10-hour trip, remember, is twice as far, twice as long than a 5-hour half day, but you're still fishing only about 15 to 20 miles from shore, 15 to 25 miles from Johns Pass, only in about 60 to 100 foot of water. So you're not getting out there super deep on that 10-hour trip. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not an advanced angler's trip. Those 12-hour night trips start to get you out there a little deeper. We start to get more mangrove snapper, the 12-hour extreme, the 39, the 44-hour. Those are advanced angler trips. Those are where you get the big fish. Those are where you get the big chances for the keeper grouper for sure. Parking garage rates. If you're on a trip with us, it's $7 all-day parking right now. So Parking garage rate, $7 per day. If you're on a 39-hour, it is $14. Let's see here. If I could only bring two setups on my bay boat to fish inshore and nearshore, what would they be? I would be fishing on a bay boat. You're not going to be going that far, so I would have like a 3000 series spinning rod for my trout and for my smaller fish, inshore and nearshore for the mackerel, that kind of thing. And I would bring like a 4,000 or 5,000 series spinning reel for my snook, my redfish, and then nearshore for hogfish, all that good stuff. So probably just 2 spinning reels, one a little bit bigger than that. How do I enter to win a fishing trip? We talked about it in the beginning of the show. You got to watch the whole show live. You got to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream, and then you have to stay tuned, because if your pick is the lucky winner, you got 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip. Let's see here. What else we got? Catching anything other than grunts on half-day trips? Nope. Half-day trip is our shortest trip closest to shore. Great fun for beginning anglers. It is primarily gray snapper or white grunts. But in the cooler months, you do start to see some hogfish every now and again. But even on the half-day, you don't get a ton of hogfish. It's just a couple here and there. So really, the 10-hour all-day is where you want to focus on the cooler months for those hogfish. Makes the 10 hours a little bit more exciting for sure. All right, let's do our next giveaway. We did our 5-hour half-day earlier. Let's do our 10-hour all-day giveaway. Remember, if you have a question you want answered live during the show, remember, text us at the phone number at the bottom of the screen. We're going to do the 10-hour giveaway. This is one 10-hour trip, 2 guests on this 10-hour trip. Lucky winner is Barbie Beach. See you June 28th. Well, Barbie, congratulations. You got yourself a free 10-hour trip for 2. Definitely cool to see. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address. On a 12-hour extreme, what baits are best and what bait is supplied? Remember, on all of our trips, 10 hours or longer, we supply thread fins and squid. On the 12-hour extreme, 39, 44-hour, it's all the same. Thread fins and squid are provided. What's been best lately has definitely been bigger dead baits. Whole squid, the whole octopus, the goggle eyes has been a hot bait lately. Northern or Boston mackerel, bonita strips. All of those have been really good lately, and we carry all of those in our bait shop in that frozen bait section. So if you want to grab some goggle eyes, bonita, northern mackerel, whole squid, whole octopus before your trip, we have them in the shop for you. But you don't need them, because we do provide all the dead bait you need on the boat, squid and thread fins. But some people like to bring some different baits, and sometimes being that little different bait that stands out a little bit, a little different than everything else, sometimes gets you that big fish, that big bite. This last trip on 39-hour whole squid got a nice mutton. We've been seeing a lot of the big red snapper on the goggle eyes and northern mackerel and bonita strips as well. All right, what else we got? How does someone present a bonita as bait? Strips, chunks, or big slabs? You fillet the bonita and then you strip it out if it's real big. If it's smaller, you can just use the whole fillet, hooking it at the skinny end. Remember, you always want the skinny end pointing towards the lead, so keep that in mind. On a 39-hour trip, is ballyhoo a good bait? No, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's small, it's oily, it falls off the hook really easily. So I wouldn't really recommend ballyhoo. You can cut it up, and it's a good mangrove snapper bait if you're using chunks of ballyhoo, but it's expensive. You just talked about needing a top shot. Why do you need a top shot? So if you're fishing braided line, you need a top shot because of the same reason that you need shock absorbers on your vehicle, right? You're not going to drive a vehicle down the road without suspension. You wouldn't want to fish with braided line straight to your swivel, because you're fishing straight up and down, that fish gets hooked and he's shaking his head trying to fight. And as he fights, he's able to tear a hole in the side of his mouth, and he's much easier able to spit your hook. So you add a top shot to act as a shock absorber. It prevents that fish from being able to tear as big of a hole in the side of his face. It prevents you from losing as many fish, because it prevents them from being able to spit the hook as easily. So that's a good reason to use a top shot. The other reason to use a top shot is, if you're an advanced angler fishing braid, you should have a feel for your line. And if you feel your line start to touch another person's line, you reel up really fast, and generally if you do get tangled, it's going to be top shot that's tangled, and you're able to untangle it. If you get tangled with braid, you have to just cut the braid. And braid is expensive. So if you're not an advanced angler, if you don't fish deep water a lot, don't use braid, because it's more technical. You have to tie that top shot. You have to tie the line to line knot. It's much more difficult. It tangles easily. It's a nightmare. And you really don't need it, because you have plenty of sensitivity if you're using a nicer rod. But a lot of advanced anglers like using the braid. Gives you a little bit more sensitivity, but you have to use that top shot, and you have to really carefully watch your line to prevent tangles. So it's a little bit more challenging. But you need a top shot to prevent tangles or reduce tangles, and you need a top shot to give you that shock absorption to help you catch more fish. Do you have any tips for a first-time red snapper fisherman going off of Mexico Beach next week? Yes, I would travel a little bit further east and then south to Hubbard's Marina. Got him. No, off of Mexico Beach, Northern Gulf, it depends on how deep you're fishing. I don't know how deep you're fishing, so it's a little bit challenging. But yeah, 7/0 hooks, 8/0 hooks, big baits, big fish. You want to match your weights to your main line. So if you're using 60, 80 pound main line, you're using 6 and 8 ounce sinkers. And you're generally going to be using a big piece of dead bait or a big live bait. Remember to be selective when you're fishing red snapper. You want to try to get the biggest possible red snapper, because you're only allowed 2 per day. On a 39-hour, you're allowed 4 because you get a 2-day bag limit. So you only allowed a small number of fish, so you want to try to get the biggest possible fish. In order to get a big fish, you need a big bait. The bigger the bait, the bigger the hook. So if you're using a bait like this, you're getting away with a 7, 8/0 hook. If you're using a bait like this, maybe a 8 to 10/0 hook. If you're using a bait like this, maybe a 10 or 12/0 hook. And the bigger the bait, the bigger the hook. You match your hook size to your bait size. Your leader size, probably 60-pound test is plenty for a red snapper, but I would go with an 80-pound leader, big hook, big bait, and then a bigger lead, some heavier main line, and you're going to have a chance for a bigger fish. A big 18, 20 pound plus red snapper can break you off if you're not putting the hammer down and fighting them hard. So definitely good idea to use big bait, big fish, big tackle, and a little bit of patience, and you're going to get that bigger fish. And remember, red snapper, biggest red snapper are always at the top and bottom of the water column. So I like, if I'm dropping a big bait down, I'll drop it down till I can't see it anymore, and then I'll stop the spool with my thumb, and then I'll slowly drop it down from there until I feel some nibbles, and then I'll put it in gear and just stop. And a lot of times you'll get a big bite right there at the top of the water column. If I wait a while, don't feel anything crazy, then I'll start dropping it back. If you're just getting little nibbles, that's just vermilion snapper tearing your bait apart. So if you're just getting little nibbles, you wait for a minute, don't get a big bite, start dropping it back down to bottom slowly. And if you don't get hit on the way to bottom, you should get hit once you get to the bottom for that bigger fish. When does red snapper season end? September 15th. What size J hook do you recommend for a double snell rig on the 39-hour trip? Also, same question on a circle hook. Remember, we have to tell you the rule. And the rule is, when you're fishing offshore in the Gulf, in the federal waters, and state waters too, actually, they passed a law in state waters. If you're fishing in the Gulf for reef fish, grouper, snapper, amberjack, that kind of thing, with natural bait, live bait, dead bait, you're not using a lure, and you're dropping a bottom for refish, you have to use a non-stainless, non-offset circle hook. That's the rule. So you have to use circle hooks. That's what we have to tell you. Boom. Do you catch sharks, and if so, what kind? We try not to catch sharks on all of our trips except for the shark fishing trip. We catch a lot of sharks on our shark fishing trip, but outside of our shark fishing trip, sometimes we do catch sharks. We catch a lot of ridgeback sharks, duskies, sandbars. They're overpopulated, and we catch a ton of them. Hook a ton of them. We don't always catch them. We try to break them off once we know they're sharks. We sometimes see some bull sharks. We sometimes see some other species, tiger sharks, occasionally hammerheads, but not really often. I would say bull sharks, sandbars are probably the two most common we encounter. We have seen great whites. We have seen some greater hammerheads. We have seen some big tiger sharks. We've seen some makos, caught some makos, but mostly sandbars, bulls, duskies. What are goggle eyes and where do you find them? Goggle eyes are a fancy kind of bait, very similar to a sardine shad, and they're typically more southeast in South Florida, but they are pretty good darn baits. It's kind of like a sardine, but a little taller, like a threadfin, but still the shape of a sardine. They're cool, but they're expensive. We sell them in 5-pound boxes. I forget the price off the top of my head, but they are a little bit expensive. Same with the Boston mackerel and the bonita, but we do have them if you want them. Is slow pitch jigging possible on a 39-hour? Yes, 100%. A lot of people slow pitch jig on our 39-hour trip, on our 12-hour extreme, on our 44-hour trip. We have some anglers that only slow pitch jig fish. We actually had Tim Duncan, Diogo Yamada, some of their buddies go out on this 39-hour trip that just left today, and that's all they're going to be doing is slow pitch jig fishing. So yes, it's very possible. Yes, a lot of people do it. It's become more and more common, and we have some very expertised anglers who come out quite a bit, who fish primarily jigs. Even our guests have gotten so good at it, they started on our jigging only trips, and now they're on other boats coaching people. Other boats are using our fishing friends to teach people. It's pretty cool. So it's good to see. How much Top Shot should I use from shore? You don't need Top Shot from shore. You need a little bit of a leader. So if you're fishing inshore, maybe a little 2-foot leader, 18, 24-inch leader is all you need of monofilament or fluorocarbon. You don't need Top Shot fishing from shore because you don't need that shock absorber because you're fishing out there. You're not fishing straight up and down. That fish isn't going to be able to shake your hook as easily. And the fight is much shorter. How tight should the drag be set when fishing off the boat close to other fishermen? You always want your drag to be set pretty tight, but not locked down. It depends on the species. A lot of times fish in mangroves, I'll have it a little lighter, but for the most part, I want to be able to just barely get line out of that reel, but have it still operating smoothly. So you don't want to lock the drag all the way down. Generally about 80% of your drag, 80 to 85% of your drag. 70 to 85% of your drag is where you want it set. That way you can lock it down if you have to, and then you can back it off if you want to as well. On the shark trips, do you go for quantity or quality? A little bit of both. Generally, we're catching anywhere from a 4 to 6 foot shark pretty regularly, and a lot of times we'll see some 8, 9, 10 foot sharks quite a bit as well. Come on, we got time for one more.
No más, senor.
No more questions? How far in advance should I get a reservation for a 10-hour, a couple days, an extreme trip during red snapper season? Very far in advance. We're pretty booked up on the 12-hour extreme trip. But remember, on all our red snapper trips, June is super crazy busy. July is a little less busy, like 60 or 70%. I would say red snappers or June trips are almost all 90 to 100% full. July trips are maybe 70% full. August trips are like 30 and 40% full. So definitely really crazy in June, less crazy in July, pretty slow in August for red snapper. So happy birthday to Shelly Barnes. Happy birthday, Shelly. I'm sorry your husband likes Duke's mayonnaise. He's a weird guy. Big shout out to Shelly. Oh wait, do you have a special rod for slow pitch jigging? Don't want to buy to try. Do you have to have a special slow pitch rod for slow pitch jigging? Yes and no. You can slow pitch jig with a normal bait rod, but it's not going to give the jig as much action. You're not going to be as successful with it, but you can try it. You can try jigging with a normal rod, but if you use a jigging rod, it's going to recoil, load, and give action to that jig much more effectively, and you're going to catch more fish. It's going to behave better. You're going to have a much better chance to catch a lot more. So 100%, you don't need a jigging rod, but if you use a jigging rod, you are definitely going to have a chance to catch more fish and be more successful. And there's a lot of jigging rods on the market. We sell some jigging rods in our shop, some Temple Reef. Josh is showing off our new online store. If you go to shop.hubbardsmarina.com, you can get to our new online store. It's also on our website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, you can click shop. But we have a ton of slow pitch jigging stuff, a ton of slow pitch jigs, rods, bags, hooks, assist hooks. We got a ton of stuff on the online store. So check it out. There is a ton of information here and options that we sell, and then you can always stop by the shop and buy it in person, or you can order it online and we'll send it to you as well. But can't order rods. We don't ship rods, but you can pick up the rods in person in the shop for sure. All right. We don't have any other ones? Is there a trip I can go on August with the 10-hour trip I won? Yeah, give us a shout. We can work with you there. August, again, is slower, so we should be able to work that out. What if you don't have Facebook in order to get a giveaway? Unfortunately, our random name picker software does not work for multiple platforms. So we're streaming to Twitch, to Trovo, to Instagram, to TikTok, to YouTube, to Facebook. So you have to kind of pick one in order to do the random giveaways. And it doesn't work really well on YouTube. So unfortunately, we have to use Facebook, and we have to use the Hubbard's Marina page. So you really have to comment on the Hubbard's Marina page. Some people, what they've done is, I don't want to be on Facebook. I get that. But you can start a Facebook page with a made-up name. You don't need a photo on it. All you need to do is go on to this made-up Facebook account with you can even make up an email or use a different email, and then you just use that for the show, right? So that's an option. But yeah, unfortunately, it does have to be one comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible for a chance to win. Sorry about that. But a lot of people like watching on YouTube because I've heard the quality is better. Plus, on YouTube, you can put it on your TV pretty easy. A lot of people like watching at home on their TV instead of on a computer or phone. What size top shot should I put on my braid? Your top shot should match your main line. So if you got 50-pound main line, you should be using a top shot that's within 10 pounds. So 40, 50, 60 pounds. So if your top shot, or if your main line's 50 pounds, 40, 50, or 60 pound top shot. If your main line 70 pound or 80 pounds, you should be using anywhere from a 60, 80, maybe 100 pound, but that's a little tall. Basically, you want to keep your top shot pretty close to what your main line is. And generally, it's a good idea to be a hair heavier on your top shot than your main line, because you want that top shot to be the one that's given away, right? A hair heavier or a hair lighter, because if you're having to retie your top shot all the time, like if you had 40-pound main line and you're using a 60-pound or 80-pound top shot, what's going to break all the time is either the knot or just above the knot on the braid, and then you're going to have a problem because you're going to have to be retying top shots all the time. So I like using 50-pound braid with a 40-pound top shot for my mangrove snapper fishing. So that way, if I do break, a lot of times it's going to be in the top shot and I don't have to totally retie everything. But that's me. All right. Answered a lot, if not all, the questions. Got through all the reminders. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to join us Tuesday night at OCC Roadhouse. We're going to be talking fishing, answering your questions, hanging out. Great food, great drinks. We're going to be giving away free Bull Bay rods, Ingo coolers, Hubbard's Marina swag. It's a lot of fun. So we'll see you Tuesday night at OCC Roadhouse, just south of Almerton on 49th Street. Check out the new online store. It's pretty cool. We've got some pretty cool shirts, hats, performance wear, definitely some cool souvenirs. So check out the new online store. You're missing out if you haven't seen it yet. I think that's pretty much all I had for you guys tonight. Hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode. Remember, every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. we do these live stream shows. And if you're in our supporters group, hopefully we'll see you for our supporters after show, which will be what time, Josh? 8:45 for the supporters after show. So hopefully we'll see you in the supporters after show in our private supporters group. What time at OCC Roadhouse? It's 7 to 9 p.m. 7 to 9 p.m. is the event at Orange County Choppers Roadhouse. Roadhouse. Always makes me think of that Family Guy episode. God, that was funny. So just south of Almerton on 49th Street, 7 p.m. Tuesday, June 24th. That's this Tuesday. We'll see you at OCC. With that, let's give our 39-hour trip away. A 39-hour trip is brought to you by our friends over at Innovative Pools and Spa. Innovative Pools and Spa brings you 35 years of experience building pools in the Tampa Bay area. They're continuing the legacy of their father's company, recognized as a top pool builder for the last over 3 decades. Plus, they continue to raise the bar in pool construction, design, and features. They have an unparalleled passion for the industry. Call them today at 727-788-1650 or visit them online at innovativepoolsandspa.net for an estimate and see why Innovative Pools and Spa is a top choice for families in our community. So hopefully you get a chance to check them out. Hopefully we'll see you Tuesday night. Hopefully we'll see you on the water. And definitely we're going to see you next week for another episode. Remember, every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. And definitely don't forget to tell your friends. Bring your friends. That gives you more chances to win. Because if your buddy heard about the live show from you and your buddy wins a free fishing trip for 2 guests, who's he going to bring? He's going to bring you. So make sure to tell your friends. Share the show. We appreciate it. We'll see you again next week at 7:30 p.m. All right. Supporters after show, 8:45. We'll see you there. And let's find out who won the 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. Winner is Tim Dykes from Gordon, Georgia. Congrats, Tim. That's also going to cost you some of that venison sausage that I enjoy so much, Tim. So you got a free trip, but definitely bring yourself some venison sausage along with you. Big shout out to Tim and his family. He's brought venison sausage before, so I remember him very thoroughly. You guys have a good night. Tight lines. Hopefully we'll see you again next week for another episode. Hopefully we'll see you Tuesday night, 7 p.m. at OCC Roadhouse. You got anything for me, Josh?
No.
Looked like you were going to write me a note.
No.
No? All right. See you guys. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy.